Today we're going to take a look at the new custom color Gibson SGs, and hopefully make some sense out of them. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. That's right, the custom color series. We just unboxed all of the Les Pauls a couple of months ago. They've now rolled the SGs into it. And the dealers had loose lips. They had leaked these things so early, but I can't blame them. Look how gorgeous that is. I love it. So that one was not a surprise at all, but this one was. They also put the 61 style SGs within the custom color series. I am elated that they did this because the SG standard has been kind of boring ever since new ownership took over. You could find them in cherry and black. They were technically part of the modern collection. They just didn't really have anything too crazy going on for them, but really breathed some new life into these SG standards. So let's talk about the colors. We've got translucent teal, which we were just looking at, which in my opinion is the coolest new color. Then you have some uncommon traditional ones with the TV yellow and classic white finish. And then you have kind of like a faux custom shop silver mist, kind of like a silvery sparkle one. And then you've got two new burst finishes that give me SG Goddess vibes in Cardinal Red Burst and Pelham Blue Burst. These 6 new colors are available on both the Modern Collection SG standard as well as the Original Collection 61 standard. So what that means for you is, do you want the full Batwing pickguard or do you want the half guard? Now keep in mind, this one is $200 cheaper at $17.99, whereas these are a little bit more expensive at $19.99. Pickguard style is not the only thing you're choosing. It's actually neck profiles. These guys have a chunkier 50s neck, whereas these are more a slim taper. You're also choosing what tuners do you prefer, Grovers or Klusons. The standards feature a 490R in the neck and a 490T in the bridge, whereas our 61s feature 60s burstbucker pickups. And the thing you really need to be aware of is the SG standard comes in one of their premium soft case / gig bags, whereas the true 61, that's a little bit more expensive, has a Gibson hardshell case. So are you really actually paying a premium? Not really, because I think the biggest difference just comes down to your case. So choose which one you like spec-wise. I'm going to continue this review and demo with our teal one here because I just like that bigger neck profile on an SG. It feels great. But it's also worth mentioning that this version of the SG has a couple of upgrades with the trem systems. The custom color series does not offer the tremolo units, which I think was a good choice. So first impressions here, yes, this looks every bit as good in person, if not better than in stock photos that I've been seeing. I'm really excited. Like, if I was not a guitar review YouTube channel, I would just be interested in one of these in general. Whoever came up with this idea of this color on this guitar, give them a raise. And it feels really good in my hands. I mean, again, I didn't really care about the SG standard until these new colors came out, and now I realize that I really enjoy the specs of just their regular Modern Collection one. So let's go ahead and throw this one on the workbench to take an individual look at its parts and specs, and then we'll go ahead and get to that playing demo. Inside our Teal SG, let's go ahead and take a look at things. First thing that surprised me is the routing underneath the pickguard. It looks like this, just 2 humbuckers. But I'm not surprised because I didn't see a swimming pool route. It's this right here. They actually have an additional wire channel running through here. That way, when they're trying to install these, they don't have to worry about that wire getting caught here and making the pickguard bow and not fully secure. That is a really smart idea from a manufacturing standpoint. Here we can see our neck tenon as well as the maple block that caps off the truss rod. TL for teal in our neck pickup, and then our bridge pickup cavity tells you what it is, the SG standard. And those are some pretty nice looking routes. Everything is exceptionally clean. Now the other side, in case, somebody gifts you the wrong one and you want the half guard, you could convert it. You'd just be left with some additional screw holes over here. But sometimes SGs will have like an additional route right here, so that's why we're documenting this. Spec sheets were not lying about the pickups. It's the 490R in the neck and the 490T in the bridge. You don't find that pickup in very many sets. Typically it's the 498T that pairs with here that's a little bit hotter. However, we did just document a guitar that had the same set and I loved it, so we'll just have to see how this one sounds in a modern guitar. So within the circuit, that bridge pickup reads 8.07k ohms, neck position 7.74, and then the middle, just for fun, 3.95. But what's always confused me is why is this in the modern collection? It's not like it has push-pull pots or any fancy wiring or crazy modernized pickups or compound fretboard radiuses. Probably just comes down to that this is the more modernized take on an SG because it came after the 61 style. I'll be curious to see if our control pots are actually on a PCB system on this one or not. Because if it is, there's like no excuse not to have some fancy wiring. But stock from the factory, 2 volumes, 2 tones, and a regular 3-way selector switch. But now let's talk about the bridge and tailpiece. So when you have a bat wing guard, it goes around your Nashville studs. So if you ever have to mess with your pickups and everything, it's always kind of a pain because you have to take these completely off in order to remove your guard. But inside the case, you have a little Allen wrench. It's for your bridge studs. They have this little cutout right here that helps you adjust your bridge. That's what the modern Nashville style ones use. And this is lightweight aluminum with the API branding in the center there. And we also have the lightweight tailpiece, made by the same guys. Now I do want to mention, in case you've also fallen in love with this particular example, not all of them are going to be this light in color. That's the thing about these translucent teals and light blues and greens. They look different on just about every single one. So this is a relatively light colored mahogany. It's got all the nice dancing and flame figuring to it. It's nice. However, if you come over here, you can see just how different that finish is going to look example to example. So this one has a light colored body with a very dark colored neck. So that means there are some bodies that might have a darker color wood to it. It doesn't look vastly different. You mainly only notice it when you're like comparing it. Or if your guitar happens to have like a maple neck or something. I mean, it's night and day difference. But overall, this one appears to be a 2-piece body, but we'll see that a little bit more clearly on the back. So we just talked about the mahogany neck. Fretboard is our regular rosewood materials. You've got 22 frets, you got the acrylic trapezoid inlays, got some minor tooling marks on the fretboard as to be expected. I didn't really see anything that super caught my attention. They could have stylized the nut and rounded it off a little bit better. It's about the only thing I truly noticed. 24 3/4 inch scale length and static 12-inch fretboard radius with a 1.7-inch nut width, increasing to 210 by the 12th. And our round neck measures 0.87 at the first fret neck depth and just a little shy of 1.98 by the 12th. Here's a look at that neck at the first fret and the 12th fret. Nice and rounded C shape. Our headstock is just our regular one with our phenolic veneer, featuring the mother of pearl crown emblem and the mother of pearl Gibson logo. And here's a look at our truss rod. It's in fine shape with our truss rod cover reading SG. And now we flip over to the backside. I was not wrong. So that's another difference between the SG standard and the 61 style is the 61 has hand-wired pots, whereas this utilizes a PCB system. So once again, this version might be cheaper, but at the end of the day, if you actually make them apples to apples with the exact same stuff, case and hand-wired electronics, I mean, it's basically the exact same cost. We've got the Gibson branded pots on a Gibson branded PCB. That's all looking good. I don't remember seeing one of these before though. Usually the quick connect output jacks looked a little bit different, but that still seems to be switchcraft. That's actually really good information to know, because if you don't like these pickups, find your white conductor quick connect system and anybody can put those pickups in. You don't have to mess with soldering. So that could be a good thing for some people. But here you go. Taking a look at the wood grain in the body one more time. And I told you I'd show you where the center seam is. The best way to find that is to look at the end grain, and right here, plain as day, slightly off center from your strap button, you can see that line. That's where the wood's joined together. And then once you see that, you can kind of see that line right here. But they look so similar, it's not overly jarring. Here's another look at that kind of aqua teal where you get more of like a darker green over here. But again, that is normal and to be expected with a finish like this. But I'm sure we'll still see people on forums saying, QC issue, paint wasn't mixed right. Some things you just gotta learn. And I suppose, could they compensate for it to give it a more even hue? Yeah, but remember, these are production level guitars, not necessarily custom shop. But this one was stamped the 215th day of 2023. Initial batch production number 181 for that particular day with our full Grover tuners.
I really am curious, why doesn't Gibson just use push-pull pots and make these a little bit fancier? It's not like these aren't 4-conductor pickups already. They're not going to have to change anything, except for what PCB they put in it. That would make a little bit more sense why this is in the Modern collection, even if it's just 2 coil splits. But if you want that, you have to step up to the true SG Modern. All said and done, this one is 6 pounds, 12.6 ounces. Not too bad, but I've got a sneaking suspicion this one's going to be neck divey because a lot of the weight seems to come from that. So we'll go ahead and check that as we go on to our playing demo.
First things first, neck dive test. It's okay on this setup, but remember, I'm wearing a sweatshirt that's a little bit more gripping. And the backside of my strap is like a seatbelt material, so that helps with that a little bit. I think in many situations this would dive a little bit, so I'm not gonna say no neck dive. So if you're sensitive to that, get a really wide, like 3-inch strap, or you can add a weight inside your control cavity or get a heavier back plate. There are ways around that, or you can just try to find a heavier example. But let's go ahead and try these tones. I'd say those are some pretty nice tones. However, I'm noticing the neck pickup is a little bit overpowering the bridge. So I'm gonna raise that up. Now we know all about the custom color series for the SG Standard. What are my final thoughts? Yeah, it breathed new life into the SG Standard. I'm so happy they did this. I don't know if I'm necessarily as sold on the 61 style, but maybe we'll review that one another day. I really like the big chunky neck and all the cool colors. I feel the Batwing pickguard really complements most of these finishes pretty good. So this is exactly what the SG Standard needed. I've never really been enticed to review it until they give it some fancy new finishes. In my opinion, this color definitely gets my seal of approval. Now, as far as the tones, I didn't necessarily think it was anything, out of the ordinary. It's a pretty typical pickup set. But as far as the build quality, yeah, it's all here. All right, troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed. If you're interested in being the next owner of this one, it'll be for sale on my website, troglysguitarshow.com. Same with that other 61 style. All right, take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.